Right.
Back to the Bible nerdy questions. This
Let's
is
do
just
it.
for you, JM.
All
And
right.
I believe this is Old Testament centric, so here you go.
Oh, pressure's on.
I recently heard that the book of Job was written in poetic prose and that it was written by an author in exile or captivity, and it's made up. It's not necessarily a historical retelling of something that actually happened. What are your thoughts on this by the Christian Conspiracy Investigator? That is a very cool name.
Yeah, it was written by the Vatican I tried to spin a conspiracy off the top of my head. Okay, let's take this in chunks. The book of Job is written in poetic prose. It's written in both. The opening section is prose. Once the friends start speaking and Job starts speaking, that's poetry. And then the epilogue is in prose. So it is both genres. Written by an author in exile or captivity. Don't know. The book of Job, it's hard to date. It is among the wisdom literature, so that typically tends to be later in Israel's history. But it is set in possibly the patriarchal period. Like, it's not set in the history of Israel, like during the monarchy or anything like that. So it presents a conundrum. It would all boil down to, what do you think Job is? Do you think Job is stylized history? Or do you think Job is parable or something close to like Jesus's parable? Like Jesus's parables would get pretty detailed at times, but he even gave one of the characters a name, Lazarus, but that doesn't mean that he was intending to tell a historical account, that there was an actual rich man named Lazarus. Actual rich man and an actual beggar named Lazarus. And this actually happened and they died and they actually went to this place called Abraham's bosom or this fiery place. No, it was a parable. So you can read it as that. Well, there's debate about Job and scholars make arguments for both positions. Richard Middleton and I had a discussion. He's just a wonderful scholar on Job and other, basically most of the Old Testament, but he wrote a whole book that had to do with Job. We had a discussion here on the channel. Did Job actually happen, or is Job history? I can't remember the title of it. You can check it out in the interviews playlist. And we talked a little bit about the different positions and why. I don't think you could say an author made it up, because no scripture comes from humans making things up. That's just a biblical doctrine. All scripture is theopneustos, God breathed. The Spirit moved the authors and the people, the writers, the compilers, the editors. So I think it's a false dichotomy to say if it wasn't history, then it's made up. I don't think that's true, because Jesus's parables weren't history. But it doesn't mean they were made up by some, like Matthew or Luke or Mark made up his parables. Like Jesus spoke his parables. So I think you could hold something like Job is an extended story intentionally set in a faraway time in a almost fictitious land of Uz. Just like we might say from here to Timbuktu, and we don't mean literally the city called Timbuktu, which does exist, but we just mean, far, far away. You can make an argument that that's what's going on with Job. And I'll be honest, I lean that way. I don't think Job was written as history. I think Job fits in that wisdom literature period in Israel. And I think God inspired the author to tell this account. Job is mentioned, I believe, elsewhere in scripture as like this. No, maybe I'm thinking of Daniel. I don't want to go down that. I could have misspoken. I've done that before in one of these lives when I'm talking off the cuff. So I'll just say, I think Job could be this historical figure, and that the book of Job is a inspired, poetic, artistic story that uses Job and depicts what Job is about using artistry rather than historical accounting. So check out the video with Richard for more on that.
The link to that video with Richard is on the screen right now. It's also in the chat. grab it, go to it.
Awesome.
It's called "Was Job a Real Person?"
There we
and who
go.
are Behemoth and Leviathan.
Yeah. That's what we talked about too. The people have questions. That's a good thing to conspiracy investigate, is Behemoth and Leviathan and what role they played.